What if your visibility isn't landing because your strategy isn't wrong, but because the way that you're showing up isn't actually aligned with your soul? In a world where entrepreneurs are constantly told to be more visible, post more content, get on more podcasts, myself included, the real question becomes how do you show up authentically in a business that fulfills your soul, that makes you feel like you're living from purpose without losing yourself in the noise of marketing, tactics, strategy, and expectations? That's exactly what we're diving into in this episode of the Communication Queen podcast. I am your host, Kimberly Spencer, visibility strategist and high performance business coach. And I am so honored to be here with you today because visibility isn't about being seen, it's actually about being felt. It's about being truly seen and heard as who you are. And today's guest has built an entire global movement around helping leaders bring both their logic and their soul so that they can show up and communicate their work. Camille Miller is the founder of the Soul Professional Movement, a globally recognized brand dedicated to helping coaches, consultants, and founders align their business with their deeper purpose and values so that their message lands with authenticity and impact. She is the author of 3 books with another one on the way, mainly The Soul Professional. And she works with leaders around the world who are committed to making meaningful impact through service and not just chasing visibility and revenue for visibility and revenue's sake. I love the philosophy that Camille has, and we align with this very much. Is that the goal is not to reach everyone. It's to trust that the right words will reach the right people at the right time to help transform them as well as yourself. So, if you're someone who wants to show up more authentically, communicate your work with greater clarity, and learn how to be that author that's getting their work out into the world and showing up in the aligned spaces, make sure you hit subscribe so you never miss an episode of the Communication Queen podcast. And with that, I am so honored to have Camille on the show.
Thank you, Kimberly, for having me today. I'm excited to be here.
You're very welcome. So, you've written not just one, not just two, but 3 best-selling books and now are on your 4th. What inspired you to write the book? Because so often we have a lot of authors who run businesses and it's very easy for the book to get put on the back burner.
Yeah, I'm feeling that now with my 4th book.
I love your honesty.
Yeah, the first 3 was always going to be a series, right? So I needed all 3 to come out a year apart, and that's how we did it. And it was once I signed the contract with the publisher, I knew that I was going to have 3. So it helps when you have a publisher pushing you along. Like, we got to get this done. We got to get this done. Here's
Mhm.
my deadline. Here's my deadline. But I'm glad it did work that way. I'm glad it did work that way. Uh, it is very hard to get your words out there. And the first book, I kept saying, well, I'm not a writer. I'm not a writer, right? Which made it that much harder. But after I got the first one out, then the second one and the third one was a breeze
Mm.
because I was a pretty good writer at that point. So it was a little bit easier, but it's mostly just hitting those deadlines. So the 3-part series is all about building your soul aligned business. Well, the first one it's called the Ultimate Guide series. And it's the ultimate guide to building a soul aligned business, the ultimate guide to becoming a successful soul professional, which means the growth part. Like, once you build it, how do you actually make money so it's sustainable? And the third one's called the ultimate guide to leaving your legacy. And it's
Mm.
about you're leaving your legacy anyway. So let's do it with intention and create that ripple effect in the world.
I love the fact that you really focus on soul. And what I found with a lot of spiritual entrepreneurs as they're working through soul, they get very caught in the feminine flow versus actually having masculine structure around the entity that is their business. When when you're navigating this and I see like you're nodding like you're like I want to know this. Where do you see soul-led entrepreneurs get really stuck in the business building of building their business?
Yeah. So I often hear like, I just want to be in flow. I just want it to happen. I don't need to know the how. And I was like, well, if you want to build an actual business and create money, you do. Right. So business requires both the feminine and the male energy. Like it just does. And this is regardless of gender. The masculine energy is your ego and it's the structure and it's the a little bit of the hustle and the grind and the knowing what you want, right? Where the feminine is more about the collaboration, what feels good in my body. I always say it's not just the alignment of knowing where you're going, but it's the coherence of does this feel good to me? And that's where authenticity comes in. The feminine is more about creating those relationships and being you, and that's flowing in the world. But you also have to have the structure behind it. So
Mhm.
my work really blends the two of them. The soul professional movement, many people are very successful and accomplished professionals in the corporate world or some structured job. Before they're going, wow, that doesn't really make my heart sing. Now that I've made the money or have the title or whatever, how do I really start to impact the world? How do I have more of a ripple effect? Because I want my work to be more meaningful. And that's usually when they start to find us. They're seekers in the world, but they're hiding, right? Because they're not talking about it out there, but they just know they're meant for bigger things. They might not know what that looks like. Or, a lot of times they're like, I just need to find my purpose. What is my purpose in the world? And the interesting thing is, you're probably doing your purpose. You're just expressing it in a different way. So it's how do you express it differently in this next chapter?
I love that because I too have had as a coach, many people say like, I want to have my purpose without abandoning myself." I'm like, well, how what standards are you abandoning currently? I think that
Yeah.
also you touched on the authenticity part of, visibility, putting themselves out there, getting started as a business owner. I'm curious when, you know, a lot of visibility sometimes doesn't feel good, especially if you're just getting started. Like, I'm on a show coming up in July and I'm gathering a lot of B-roll currently for that
Mhm.
show. And I found my first pageant girl, question that I had to
Okay.
respond like in public. And I'm
Okay.
looking at, I'm like, I'm, it was about authenticity and about being authentic. And I'm like there and I'm stumbling and fumbling and it's so cringy and it didn't feel good, and obviously there was certain programming that I was dealing with at that time that was, like, not aligned of what I was saying was not actually truthful because I wasn't actually being truthful with myself.
Mhm.
But how do you support leaders as they're venturing forth, putting themselves out there in their business? And, visibility doesn't feel good at first. Like, when you start putting yourself out there, it can feel scary. I mean, there's a reason why people fear public speaking more than death.
Yeah. I always start to ask questions about like, what doesn't feel good? Why doesn't it feel good? Right? Because sometimes it doesn't feel good for all different reasons, right? It's not, I don't think it's the same for everyone.
Mhm.
Some people
Yeah,
just don't like to be on stage, right? Some people are like, well, I don't want to sell, or I hear this all the time in the spiritual world is, my gifts come to me so naturally, it feels like weird to charge for them. And I'm always like, well, a brain surgeon charges for his service, aren't right? I'm like, that makes no sense, and trying to get through those limiting beliefs. There's usually something deeper. It's not just the fear of being out there, because I think
yeah,
visibility today is so much more, right? It's the social media, it's the podcast, it's being on stages, it's, emailing your community all the time. Like it's so much more, and which I think is also getting tired. But some people have a fear of success.
true.
What if I get so busy, then I don't have a life for myself? What if I start making money and I don't know how to manage it?
Mm,
There's all of these what ifs that are usually behind the visibility piece. But I always tell people, you do you. Right? You stay in a comfort zone. Now, if you're growing, you have to kind of push that comfort zone a bit, right? You
yep,
have to start to take action steps, but they can be small, as long as they're deliberate, like you know where you're going and you're holding that vision. It's just like if you wanted to all of a sudden be a marathoner, right? You don't just go out running one day and see how long you can go because you'll get hurt, right? But maybe first you buy some sneakers, right? Get set up, get the right equipment, get a coach,
Mhm.
start walking around the block, right? And then maybe the following week you could run around the block, even halfway, right? So it starts to take baby steps. It's not having this huge vision of this is where I'm going. You're not getting it tomorrow,
Yeah.
right? There's a lot of steps along the way, and there's a lot of mistakes along the way. There's a lot of things that don't work out along the way, right? And that has to be a part of it. So I am always telling people just take a baby step in that direction, like tiny. Make sure it's tiny, and then if you just have a 1% increase, even weekly, even monthly, it doesn't really matter, right? You're moving forward. The pace doesn't matter. You're getting closer to your goal.
What role have your books
Yeah.
had for your business on making that incremental progress and that growth? Or were your books more like a quantum leap for your business?
No, they are not quantum leap. They're very structured. The first book is the how to create your business. And I use this with my clients is really just creating two columns and there's strategies in the book. You create two columns. This is what I want. This is what I don't want. Right. Like I don't want to work on weekends. Like for me, I came out of the not for profit world. So I didn't want to work with boards anymore, right? But I still love that advisory capacity, so I have an advisory board instead of a voting board.
Mm,
But writing down what I wanted flexibility in my schedule, right? But, I don't wanna work nights or weekends, right? So you just really write down what's important to you moving forward as you're designing this business and what you absolutely don't want. Right, because those are non-negotiables. Don't
mhm.
want it, don't put it in your business right now, right? And it could be like group work, or I like one-on-one work, or I like cohorts, and as you grow, that changes. I think that's the most important thing. As you grow, it changes because you grow, your clients grow with you, right? Because we attract who we are in the world, and we
Mhm.
have to let go of what no longer serves us. Is if it doesn't feel good, we let it go.
Yeah.
Right? So constantly checking in with, is this really what I want to do going forward? Which is a great yearly strategic plan thing. Like, do I still want to have this program? Is this program still in alignment with who I am and where I'm going? And constantly redefining even what that looks like. And that's
Yeah.
okay.
I love that because you're talking to someone who, like, back in 2020, I had 9 courses and 2 memberships with our coaching company, Crown Yourself. And I was like, no. And then I found out I was pregnant with my second son and I was like, hell no. And we eliminated those courses from selling. Like, we still have them available for our clients as like a bonus
Yeah.
for when they enroll. But I said, my happy place is high ticket private coaching with $1 million founders. Like, that is my happy place. Like, I am
Mhm.
very happy in to play in that space. I'm just gonna focus on that. Like, high 6, 7 figure, those are my people.
Yeah.
And being able to be in that space and recognizing that that was okay. Like, that I didn't have to have the, like, Marie Forleo or the James Wedmore, like, gigantic, like, millions of students. I was like, "No," I'm like, "Let's have intimate, personal, deep relationship, and I'm good with that now." Now we're
Yeah.
scaling our membership. Now I'm in a different place. So I love the fact that you brought up that the business can change. And for those who are familiar with our coaching, with our Communication Queens business, like, we pivoted from having a full end to end done for you agency into more of a consultative agency where we support our clients with, like, we'll help you build the ecosystem. And then you have all the training videos to train your team, your VA in the structure and how to do it. So
Yeah.
that way we're like, instead of it be feeling very codependent, I was like, I am more of that interdependent, but it came with maturation and it came with change.
Of course. Yeah.
I think with books, so it's setting aside the time to have a book that is like, it's a longevity game when you're writing a book, especially one that's positioning your business. How long did it take to write the entire series?
Well, we released it over 3 years, so it was one book a year.
And you wrote each book in each year?
Yeah. It was 1 book a
Dang!
year. It was 1 book a year. Yeah.
Congratulations.
And the hard part now, I'm doing the 4th book and is finding that time. This is a very sciencey base too, which I didn't see happening when I originally thought it out. And it's finding the time now to, because my business is changing, because it's 2 different energies, right? Than just sitting in quiet and writing about the dream, the vision, how we do it. And then you also have to be making money at the same time, so you have the space to write, right?
Yeah.
So it's like it's very competing energies, and the movement that I run has morphed over the 10 years that I've had it as well, right? We were in person, then we're online, now we're going back a little bit to in person. We were a very paid community for 10 years, and then I dropped that because I got tired of doing it. I built a business school, which is actually what I like, and I actually am the opposite of you. I dropped the higher end clients because I like the designing piece of it.
Yeah.
What is it like? And I'm a former MBA teacher, so I took that curriculum and just did it based in soul. Like, how do I teach the mission statement, the vision statement, the unique value proposition, branding, marketing, putting yourself out there, but do it all through a soulful lens? And
So
that's when I created the school, because my first love is teaching.
I
It's
love
not really one-on-one work.
and there's the power. That is
Yeah.
why competition and like is so silly.
Yeah,
We each have our superpowers, and what I love is
exactly.
how you framed it, that you did it through soul, and I would love to give our audience a little bit more insight as to what that means.
Yeah. So, like I said, I was a former MBA professor. I am very logically brained, right? That's how I see structure. I like structure. But I'm very soulful, right? And I do believe in the universe and spirit and guidance, and I'm very intuitive. So I had to blend these 2 worlds, which was hard for me. Who do I attract? These very logically brained people that are going through an awakening and are like,
Mhm.
I want to do something else with my life. How do we do it? Right. So the first part of me working, usually it's in my business accelerator is my signature program now. But the first few weeks is about learning who you are, right? What lights you up in the world? We try to help you find your purpose. Like, what have you always liked doing? How do you see yourself in the world? Who would you like to influence or work with? Do you like groups? Do you like one person? And we spend 3 full weeks just developing who you are. So then we can start to put it, because a lot of people are like, this is the way it has to be. And I'm like, it doesn't have to be like that. That's not the way business works. Right. I mean, we've been told a lot of things that aren't true.
Mhm.
Right. Hence why I no longer work in formal education. Right. So I was like, we know that that's not true anymore. And really listening to people and assessing their skill set.
Mhm.
Right? I work with a lot of, like, doctors and lawyers and CPAs, lots of engineers. I've worked with government employees, and it's how do you take your unique gifts? Now, some people have very unique spiritual gifts, right? I worked with an FBI analyst who reads Akashic records.
What?
Yeah.
Oh my god, that's
So
wild.
that seems to be, like, my specialty, and I'm actually releasing, a podcast that I started to have what they call global conversations, because these were just, like, unbelievable, right? A
Yeah.
school dean in a Catholic school that's a medium. How do we blend these 2 worlds in a way that's really comfortable? How do we talk about it? Those are extremes, but I've had a lot of doctors that are just like, I didn't become a doctor because of this,
Mhm.
and now I know this is true, right? I worked with a psychiatrist, an MD, that does, like, Tibetan chanting and gong work and sound healing. She's like, "It actually works better than medication." But it's not allowed through her license. So how do we look at that? How do we reevaluate? And, some doctors let go of their licenses, but I see it a lot in therapy. A lot of
Mhm.
therapists come through, people that have been in structured environments, and especially healers, right? That have become healers for a reason, but now the system doesn't allow them to actually heal. So what do we do, right? A lot of doctors that are no longer taking insurance. How do we go to private pay? How do we start to go global? Telehealth is changing and those, HIPAA all over the place. But I also work with global strategy. Like, how do we take this across borders? Because I do believe that that is our future. I
Mm.
only work in service. I don't work in product. But those are the type of people I work with. It's really blending those two worlds. How do you feel comfortable talking about it? How do you show up authentically is the biggest thing. My biggest talking point is authenticity. How are we showing up that way? Because if a certain marketing plan doesn't work for you, then don't do it. Right? You have to feel it in your body that, yeah, this feels good. This is what I want to do. Right. And I've changed my own business like that. We've had the membership, then I went on to one on one, then I built the school. And this year, our entire community is going community supported. We are doing collaborations and partnerships with other businesses to get our stuff out there and help more people in the world that might not have the money to get the
Mm.
basic business education. And, that was always my dream because I came out of the not-for-profit world. And then I went into this other direction to kind of pay for it. And now I'm like, that's not really what I want to do. Let me go back to being the CEO and creating this ecosystem that runs globally in a way that I wanted to run and to give back,
Yeah.
and start having those affiliates and founding partners and things that are help building the ecosystem.
And I think that's, I mean, we're in the age of Aquarius, so I think that's
Yes.
what we're looking at
Yep.
in the next several decades
Yeah.
is more partnership based.
Yeah. And I think
And
there's a big reason why it didn't work out. Not that it didn't work out for the past 10 years because
mhm.
it did work out. It's not that it did work out. We are still around, right? We're still making the money and have the school. But I feel this kinship now of how it's going to lay. It's like I can see the bigger picture in a much
Mhm.
different way. And I'm like, well, that's probably why that didn't work out because I'm supposed to do this. And now that feels good in my body. Yeah.
I resonate so deeply with what you're saying and have been feeling the exact same thing with both of
Mhm.
my companies, more so with Crown Yourself because I've had that for a decade. But I have been feeling the same thing of leaning into partnerships. And I think that's one of the reasons why I love podcasting so much. And I literally wrote the book on it because I have seen so many people treat podcasting, they forget that it's a relationship. They think, oh, it's just a visibility. I call it a visibility one night stand. And they go on and there's like there's the connection beyond, but there's the interview and then there's like nothing beyond that. It's like you never follow up, you never, it's like
Yeah.
you ghost the podcaster versus like how do you really build like like they could be your gateway drug into building long lasting partnerships. And we built affiliate partnerships from podcasts and whatnot. So I'd love to know, how are you leveraging podcast guesting in your business?
Yeah, so it's been a big part of my business over the last year. So I had a podcast for 9 seasons. I also closed that down at the end of 2024. And I was like, I'm going to start being a guest on other people's podcasts because I always felt like there was another one in me, but it was changing. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So I set the goal last year to be on one a week for the entire year. I set that goal like April 1st. But I was on 50 podcasts last year. For me, I love it. But what I did learn was when I pitched myself to podcasts, especially the big ones, right? No one saw me. But when I started asking people that I know or that I meet, hey, my goal this year, and sharing my goal. My goal this year is to be on a podcast a week. Is there anyone you can introduce me to? I started getting that's how I met you.
Yeah.
Started getting introductions. I put it out there to my own community and they're like, be on mine, be on mine. So all of last year and even this year, I don't really care what level podcast it is because I have the attitude like the right person will hear me when they need to.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't matter what it is. So if people are starting out, I'll probably help them out too because I have a huge community. And we take it and we share it and we put it out in the world and we do all of the stuff with it, right? That's another thing we have to do. One for the podcaster, but for you too, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's you don't just have the interview and then like it just goes into the ether, right? I was like,
Right.
There's so many things you can do with it, right? And cut it up and do all of that. And that is literally could be your marketing. People hear me on podcasts all the time, and I don't really know all of the audiences, but if they're curious enough, just like when I listen to podcasts, if it's curious enough, I'm like, huh, who is that person? What was their book? Let me look it up. I buy books that way, right?
Same.
So yeah, yeah, so it's just so interesting the way it works, and yeah, and this year, 2026, my goal is 60, which isn't that hard, it's only 5 a month,
Yeah.
which I
It is
yeah,
not that
it's not
hard. I
hard.
think I have like
Yeah,
5 this week.
I have 4 this week, but I'm always like, "Ah, in June, I'll probably do less because I 'cause I'm gonna travel a little," so it all works out,
Yeah, and making that space for it
yeah,
and understanding, like, when the season of push is, in essence, of, like, kinda like I think of it like visibility birthing. Like, sometimes, especially if you're, like, prepping for a project or a launch or something and you know something's coming up, like, that's why I'm stacking podcast interviews now because I know we have the show releasing in July
exactly.
and then a book releasing later this year. So I'm like, it's prepping the stack, in essence.
Yep, we do the same.
How did podcasts play into each of your book launches for those 3 years?
I was definitely on podcasts, but I didn't make it the core of what I do marketing wise, but I'll tell you now, my books still sell. I mean, they sell all the time. People find me
Yeah.
through my books all the time. So obviously it's working, right? But I don't go on any podcast with like a big mission to sell my books or to talk about
Mhm.
like it just I just be me and those that resonate come check us out. I mean, we're a free community, so it makes it kind of easy.
And that is like, I'm not surprised that you've had the success that you've had with leveraging podcasts and seen the results from it because of that attitude. Because I've seen so many leaders who come in and they like have the expectation of like, I'm on this podcast, I'm talking about the book again, and here I am. And it's not an organic conversation. It's very like almost, it's very rehearsed. And you as a
Yeah.
guest are just so authentic and you're just bringing such presence and energy into the experience of just getting to know each other. Like, I'm not surprised that people resonate and just end up buying your books.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. I look at the books as like kind of like a business card, right? That's not how I really make money. I don't make a lot of money through my books, but I would say directly, like in royalties or something like that, right?
Hmm.
But someone could enter my community or hire me later, or, like all of these other things could happen because of the books. And that's the way I look at them. Like,
Yeah,
they're there.
I love that they're an asset within the greater scheme of your business. I think a
Yeah.
lot of authors move into writing a book and it's different with, having a business and then having the book to support it and just being an author, not that there's like any just, but like
Yes.
but the books are the only asset that you have.
Yeah.
And I'd love to know like how does the book and your marketing like feed into the ecosystem of your community, feed into your business accelerator and the school that you have.
Yeah. Well, I think it's important to name that there is no one thing that is going to be the thing that is going to make someone famous or rich or this one program, this one book, this like it ain't going to happen that way. It's not going to happen, right? And I think a lot of entrepreneurs put a lot of focus into whatever that one thing is in this moment, this one program, this one retreat, this one and if it bombs or if it doesn't really work out, they're starting from square one again.
Mm.
So for me, it's having a lot of different really ecosystems, right? Or places like some people come to me through my networking events because they're global. Some people come to me through the books. Some people come to me through my YouTube channel. Some people come to me because they heard me on a podcast. I do a lot of writing too. I've had people, through Substack or I have a LinkedIn newsletter that I do. So I'm writing essays right now to flesh out ideas for the next book.
Love it. That's how I
I
did
see
my
what
TED Talk.
I see what people resonate with, and I'm like, "Oh, well, that got a lot of comments."
Yep.
Or speaking. I speak for a lot of communities. I speak on stages. So there's so many different ways that I show up, And none of them is the intention to sell. It's more of an awareness piece,
Mm,
right? People naturally attract to me, and I know that. Or I should say the right people, right? Those that I don't attract, that's fine. They're not supposed to be attracted. Like I never do a hard sell. I'm never convincing people. I don't do the hard close. Like I that's just not who I am. I always tell people when you're supposed to work with me, you'll know it and you'll tell me. Right?
mhm.
And I'm only gonna work with you if you're a hell yes. I am not convincing you to work with me because you will never have the results I need, right? So I work from that space and it works, but having a lot of revenue streams or visibility streams, I should say,
Mhm.
right? I do a lot of partnerships, and sponsorships and cross promotions and this year we're actually doing so much more of that. We're looking for people to line ourselves up with, and I think that's a good way to go.
I love how you highlighted some like the drum that I've been beating for a while, that it's never like the press. I've been on New York Times billboards twice in like once in the past each year. I'm like,
Mhm.
it's a theme. I'm apparently going to be on another one again this year. I'm like, we're just going to keep going. But it's never the press that comes from that. I tested it when we launched our fart book, a
Yeah.
children's fart book. And I thought, like, let's see how many sales actually come from this one piece of press. And it was not like, didn't get any crickets, got sales from the press. So, like you said about like repurposing the podcast interview, sharing about it, like continuing to leverage those assets. And you're doing such a magnificent job. I'm not surprised that your community has grown as fast as it has and like is as robust as it is and global, because just how intentional you have been with leverage, which I
Yeah.
think a lot of business owners miss.
Yeah, I missed it for a while too, so
Same. Same.
my second book is all about mistakes I've made, and I was just raw, like, we all make mistakes, like, big ones, right?
Hmm.
And the bigger we grow, the bigger they are, right? And that's just a part of it, so, like, the space that I'm in now is like, "Why did I not do that? Like, what is wrong with me?" Like, I don't know. I was doing, like, a sponsorship program and everything today, to sponsor some scholarships and, to have some, like, founding, like, big partners in as we move forward, right? That
Hmm.
will have access to the community, and it's a big move for us, and I was like, "This is so smart. Why 10 years? Why now is it just" like, I can see it so clearly, and I'm like, "Oh my god." But I also didn't have the relationships I have today, and we probably
Mm,
didn't have the size that we have today. Right? So, that probably had a lot to do with it because now I'm like, "Well, who do I know?" Because it's gonna be invite, like, people whose businesses I love and I wanna partner with, right? Because they have
mhm.
my name and my logos and stuff. So, yeah, but that's just a part of growth, I think.
I think, and I love the fact that you highlighted about relationships and like that is really equity in business, like just being
Mhm.
able to have those that you
I heard it.
who's going to need me. But the fact that you highlighted relationships, and I think that that is a skill set that entrepreneurs learn along the way. I mean, I know I've certainly put my focus on the wrong thing. Like when I first started, I was focusing on money and revenue and I was like, "Oh, all the revenue comes, that's effect. That's not
Yeah.
actually all revenue comes from our people."
Yep.
So focus on people and you'll actually get more of the effect that you want.
Yep.
So, when is the next book coming out?
I wanna say the ends of the year to the beginning of 2027 because I really need to create the space to actually be writing more of it. It's all outlined and done, and I pretty much know all the chapters, but I really have to get in there and keep writing.
Mm,
But I also have this, divine feeling it'll be out when it's supposed to be out. It's gonna hit at exactly the right time with exactly the right words for exactly the right people.
one of the things I love about you, Camille, is how much trust you have. And I know that I'm sure like that has been cultivated over time and over years of experience. But I just want to point out to the audience and our listeners just that stick with it long enough. Like, and I mean, just stick with it
Yeah.
long enough and you will have that same level of trust within yourself that the right clients are going to come, that the right ideas, the right strategy. And if you are unsure of how to tap into that, then definitely go to soulprofessional.com and get connected with Camille, get in her world, get her books, and learn how to leverage that soul connection because I think that soul connection comes from that space of trust.
Yeah.
So, Camille, to wrap this up, I would love to ask you 3 rapid fire questions.
Oh
You
boy.
down?
Okay.
Worst question you've ever been asked on a podcast?
My God, this one. I can't really think of a terrible. I honestly I can't because I'm pretty open.
Yeah,
My life is pretty much out there.
perfect. I love it. What?
Oh wait.
Oh,
Wait. I do have one. I I had a guy really focus on why I'm single. Like he wanted answers and I'm like, how about cuz I choose to be? Like I just I couldn't grasp it. I was like, "Why is that an interview question? Do you ask all the guys that too?" Like,
awkward.
yeah,
What is your favorite mode to communicate in? Written, spoken, on stage, interpretive dance?
not interpretive dance. Written, I think very clearly when I write, so that's why I do the essays and the articles.
Mm.
That clearly gets my stuff out there. But if I'm like with a friend, like a girlfriend, it's I voice text because I can't stand talking on the phone. I never
Oh,
have.
yeah.
Even as a teenager, I hate talking on the phone. Cannot stand it.
The long, awkward pauses.
I
Yeah.
don't know what it is. It's just like you're bothering me. I just don't want to do it. But maybe because in business, like I'm on Zoom all the time, and so in my personal life, I like it to be a little quieter.
Yeah. What are you most looking forward to in the next decade?
Ooh, that's a good one. I feel that I have reached this point in my life of pure gratitude and abundance and surrender. Surrender is like my big thing right now. Like I'm just surrendering. Like I'm so excited to see what happens, where I end up. Like I feel like a move is in my blood, which a year ago I would have said there's no way in hell I love where I live. And I'm like something's changing. So my surrender is more about just being open to everything that's possible. I
Love
don't
it.
know what it looks like. I don't know what it looks like, but I'm old enough that um in the next decade, well not in the next decade, in like 2 years, I will be 60. So
No.
I just feel like yeah, I just feel like I'm leaning into my wisdom and just wanting to be there.
Amazing. Amazing. Never would have pegged you for 60.
I'm not there yet. I'm
You're
close.
not there yet, but like not even close. And I love the fact that you are leading the way as a wise woman
Thank you.
for future generations of not just entrepreneurs, but like women in general and showing what's possible
That's a
when
good
you
book. That's a good book title, Wise Woman.
feel free. Feel free. Go ahead.
It's like, huh,
You heard it here,
that
folks, on the Communication Queen podcast.
it definitely resonated.
If you love the work that Camille is doing, I highly, and you are deeply wanting to get more connected to your soul, then head on over to soulprofessional.com and explore their community, get connected in with her resources. And as always, my fellow sovereigns, your story has the power to save at least one life. So go out there and let your voice be heard. Till next time.
Thank you so much for listening. If you love this episode, subscribe, leave us a review, and share it with your friends. For more tips on guest podcasting, storytelling, and communication strategies, follow us on social media at Communication Queens Agency and visit us at communicationqueens.com. I look forward to seeing you in the next episode. And in the meantime, remember, your story has the power to save one life. Let your story and your voice be heard.